A grain of sand falls in an hourglass. Then another. And another. Time stops for no man. As the grains pile up over the years, it seems their weight takes a toll. Bodies once young and virile now move with a more laborious gait. Time slows us down. That is, if you let it.
How are you different than 50 years ago?
Oh, I'm not different. I'm just like I was when I was... No, I'm...
For men like Terry Bland, time may have tempered the flame, but his passion for desert racing burns just as hot as it did 50 years ago. You see, half a century has gone by since Terry raced in the very first Cherry Creek Hare and Hound and won it. Today, the 50th anniversary of that race is heading off into the desert with hundreds of dirt bike riders celebrating years of pushing themselves and their bikes to the limit. In commemoration of that monumental birthday, racers from the first Cherry Creek in 1960 have come out to show the crowd that while you can't teach an old dog new tricks, you can still school the younger generation when it comes to racing.
I've been racing out here since 1965. Really enjoyed it. The toughest competitor that I've ever had out here is this ugly guy right here. Don Fuller, the toughest guy.
We had a dynasty going. We weren't racing anybody but each other for years. Every desert race in the whole western United States, we'd line up and see where each other was, and it was always us at the end, or close, you know. So we had a good run.
Got the grandkids out there watching, and I'm ready to go.
So you're racing today?
Yep.
How old are you?
70.
How do you expect to do?
Just if I finish, I'll be lucky.
50 years of desert racing at Cherry Creek have proven one thing. Dirt bikers love a challenge. As a well-known hare and hound destination, Cherry Creek has been putting racers through their proverbial paces for 5 decades. During the 60s and 70s, it was common for only a handful of racers to even finish the race, sometimes as few as only 5 or 6.
Back then, they used to mark the course with lime. Guys would ride around on their bikes and horses even. They had like newspaper sacks, and they would reach down and grab a handful of lime and throw it down. And that's what you followed for a course. And you got lost a lot of times in those days.
Now, a half century after the first dirt bikes blazed their course through the desert, water, and brush of Cherry Creek, the racing world is a very different place. New bikes with more reliable tech have taken over. New land policies have hedged in races to minimize environmental impacts. And a new level of prestige has fallen upon the young pros who run the circuit. But this 50th celebration race isn't about what's changed, rather, what's stayed the same.
It's the geology, the mass amount of washes and rocks and trees, and the participation where it's a lot of sportsmanship, a lot of camaraderie, I think. You come to the pits and you see faces and people that you've known, and it's like maybe you hadn't seen them for 30 years, but they're still there. It's the same. You come back to this desert, it's the same. It hasn't changed. It's the same gig, it's the same race, it's the same challenge.
We was trying to make it really special to try to recognize some of the riders that have won it in the past. We've just had a lot of special trophies, handmade belt buckles. If you finish it all, you get this as a finisher pin for this race.
The 50th Cherry Creek ends the same way the first one did in 1960, with winners and losers and a lot of memories. The next generation is already stepping up to take the place of current racers, and in 50 years, it'll be them looking back to the good old days. Time will take its toll on all of us eventually. But as these racers prove, years may slow you down. But as long as you have a passion for the sport, they can never stop you.
Most of these guys, once they get started into this, they're doing it the rest of their life. I have a lot of friends that was doing it back when I done it in the 60s that are still doing it today. Most of them have retired now, and I probably won't race again, but I ride actively, and the camaraderie is the big thing. The faces, you talk, and it's neat. It's a good family sport.
From the trailhead, I'm Andrew Swanevelt for AYL.